I went into a dark hole and I didn't talk to anybody because I was so embarrassed. Not only was I failing, but to me, because I wasn't these things, I could no longer, like, how can my friends even talk to me if I was no longer these things that they look up to? So I went down this dark, dark hole and I hit rock bottom. And to the point where I even made a plan. I decided I was going to commit suicide. And I made a plan. I was going to do it after my best friend's wedding, who was actually a bridesmaid for her wedding. And the only reason I didn't do it was because of my dog Kallie. And because at the time, obviously I learned later that there's nothing more selfish than committing suicide, because you think you're eliminating a problem that you have, but you're causing like almost generational trauma to anybody who's ever loved you.
Absolutely.
But this dog who I'd rescued from Baltimore City, who'd become like the love of my life, granted, she was a big part of my life, but I'm her world. And if I was to commit suicide, like, who am I to take the one thing in this, like her favorite thing in the world? I'm her favorite human. Take that one. And then where does she go? She goes to somebody else, all these different things. Like, how horrible was that be? So that was the reason why I didn't do it, because I didn't want my dog to be like, live through this trauma. So I didn't do it. And then I just was like, okay, I'm going to do one thing today that makes my life better. And I took one step. And I'd already kind of been into Stoicism, but this is where I really used it. And I used the fundamental foundations of Stoicism of like, there are things in this world that happen. You cannot control, you have no control over that. What you have control is what you do when they happen.
Absolutely.
And I used Stoicism to crawl my way out of that hole that I got into. And it is the reason why it is like, my moral, it's just the foundation of who I am nowadays, which is why, the YouTube channel is called The Stoic Viking, is because it has helped me immeasurably. And now when I look at that, because I realize that life, because I was so hurt by these failures, but then I realize now that failures are your pathway to success, right? Like,
right.
You don't learn anything from success. You only learn everything from failures. And when I look at it, this was the biggest series of failures in my life, even to the point that I failed, I didn't even do it. But that ended up becoming, and this is why I truly believe that was the defining moment of my life, who I became, the person that I was meant to be.
Yeah.
And I don't even regret it for a single cent. I'm actually happy that I went through it, obviously happy I didn't do it. And now that's a part of what I believe is my mission, which is to help other people find that sort of level of clarity.
I've said it before, I've learned so much more from missions that went wrong than I ever learned from missions that went right. I hate it for people who are going through it, and it never makes it feel any better. Toxic leaders will mold you into a better leader if you take that as an opportunity. I learned way more from bad leaders than I did good leaders, and the fact that bad leaders will leave a serious, long-lasting impression on you that'll make you want to go, I'll never be like them.
Yeah.
I'll never treat someone like that.
Yeah.
I'll never do that. And so there's no forging process without the hard times.
Yeah.
And just like we talked about at the beginning of this, it's what you do with it.
Exactly.
Are you gonna break, or are you gonna turn to something stronger?
Yeah.
Those are they're the only two options you have.
Absolutely.
And if breaking is an option, I know it sounds harsh. I'm not saying I don't get it, but suicide's one of the most selfish things you could ever do in life. And I'll almost joke or almost laugh when I heard you say it was my dog.
Yeah.
When the truth is that you realized how selfish it was.
Yeah.
It was a selfless service to your dog.
Yeah.
You find something. There is something that's worth sticking around for. And you actually don't have to look too far. You can find them.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm saying I get it.
Yeah.
You get so far down this hole, it's hard to see any light, but it's there.